Okay, so we're here to do part 2 of the OOTK reading for Rob. So we just finished the card counting part, and now we have to do part 2, which is the pairing, and this usually takes less time. Okay, so first pairing is the Eight of Discs and the Chariot, which again speaks to being set on a path that is much more practical, feeling very in control in a way, in a very mundane way, perhaps being more in control of your financial affairs, feeling more secure in that position. Then the Seven of Swords with the Ace of Discs. This is sort of a minor detail that happens in the background of all this. It's not really all that relevant. But it perhaps starts to feel like, sort of like money isn't everything. And that, I don't know, it sort of seems like you feel more motivated to be interested in the monetary aspect of it because of other people and their influence on you. The next detail also is sort of in the background, and I think that this is the Knight of Cups and the Seven of Wands, and again, this sort of is like saying that while you were doing this, you may have been really itching to pursue other things that you were interested in that were less practical and more idealistic, and more maybe intuitive or sensitive, and you just felt sort of, I don't know, bombarded by sort of a need to maintain that practicality or something like that. I just feel, the Seven of Wands to me always has sort of a frenzied vibe and a really aggressive and almost brutish sentiment. And so, being a background detail, it doesn't necessarily mean that that was a strong feeling. But I do think that part of you was really determined to branch out in other ways, and you were sort of, perhaps fighting against yourself and the will of others simultaneously. The Prince of Wands and the Sun. Now remember, the Prince of Wands is you. It says that, sort of whatever you did, whatever you were doing, you were very successful at it, and I think it's showing you as a feeling of freedom, but I think it could be seen as in different ways. I think in the old track you were on, perhaps you experienced a certain type of material freedom, and now, because you've abandoned that, you're experiencing a different kind of freedom. And I think by doing that, you've explored more about yourself and what it is you enjoy doing and what it is you don't really enjoy doing, whatever you are capable of. Because again, then we have the Magus and the Devil paired, and they're air and earth, and so they don't get along. So it's background detail, again, not really important. I think it shows that you also have a tremendous confidence in your own abilities, and though you may not necessarily voice it openly to people, it may not be something that you express to others, but I think you do feel that your abilities are going to be what carry you through, and they have a lot of potential to create for you the situation you want. Or perhaps it's a background detail because you don't necessarily trust that, and I think it's telling you that you should trust it. Then we have the Tower and the Aeon. Now, both of these are tremendously destructive forces, so perhaps even this pairing over here, the Magus and the Devil, showed that you, in the background, in that old way of doing things, you I get this. I think you realized that you were cutting yourself short by it in some way, or you were maybe not really living up to your full potential, or perhaps not being listened to, or I get the sense that your leadership or your gosh, I can't think today, but there's a feeling of perhaps being unappreciated in that position because you do have so much ability. And so you left and totally revised that those expectations. You reevaluated sort of the entire situation and totally moved on from it into something very different. And it did very much alter your worldview and also your literal mundane situation. Um, okay. But it's a good thing, I think. You know, and then the next pairing is the Four of Wands and the Eight of Discs. I mean, the Eight of Cups. They cancel out background detail. I think sort of having to deal with the repercussions of having left a stable position or one that was more successful monetarily, having to deal with sort of the low points of that decision, but also sort of simultaneously feeling maybe that you made the right decision and still accomplished something good for yourself. But again, it's in the background, not really a relevant thing. It might be something that you've just thought of and it's not really all that strong. Then you have the Four of Cups and the Princess of Swords. And again, this sort of speaks to feeling like, you know, it's good, but it's not that good. It's sort of, again, this sort of frustration with the way how slowly things are happening and how you haven't really been able to taste the rewards of that decision you made. Not yet, anyway. Then you have the Queen of Wands and the Wheel of Fortune. And so this seems to be either, I mean, I could see this as someone who is related to you or a close friend. And gosh, you know, you could see it as different things. You could say that the Queen of Wands herself, your female friend here, is also on sort of this track of success. And, or I don't know, I don't really think that that's quite right. I think more you met her in a way through chance or something like that, or meeting this person has been very beneficial for you. As an individual, she's part Aries and a little bit of Pisces, and so I think she shares some of that idealism you have, but she's also she's got a very large persona, and she can be very lively and a little showy, but she's a very she's got a big heart for the most part, but she's also sort of, I don't want to say pompous, but she has a side of her that can be a little over the top and melodramatic. I'm not really sure about her, and to be honest, and maybe you know who I'm talking about, maybe you have no idea. But it seems like then you have Lust and the Four of Swords, and those cards seem very antithetical to me, even though they get along. And I think it sort of speaks to coming up against a power structure with a lot of force. And maybe this is, you know, maybe that Queen of Wands figure is someone that you're having an issue with over, you know, this decision that you've made. Maybe she's one of your primary people that doesn't agree with you, per se. And in which case she is concerned about how this is all going to play out, and sort of now the chance, the random factor that you have thrown into this. and so I think that she's posing more of an authoritative block here. I don't know, maybe she's your mother or something like that. Um, and it seems like both of you are very strong-willed people, and I think that is sort of causing a tremendous amount of gravity to the situation. Or not as a gravity, but force and a little bit of feistiness here. And then the overall outcome is the Knight of Discs, which I think is interesting, um, uh, because I think it says that. But I think what it comes down to, I can read this either as a person, specifically the Knight of Discs, who is, it sort of comes down to your relationship with this male figure who is sort of not that bright, sort of plain, a little conservative, but a decent, relatively decent worker. He can. He's also Leo. You have a lot of Leo actually referenced in this reading, which is interesting because you are one. So I do sense that you are a very independent person, and the idea of someone else telling you what to do is not jiving with you at all. Um, but I think that Knight of Discs represents you, frankly, um, and it sort of says that you're going to have to do stuff that isn't going to be as exciting for now. That for now, the ultimate outcome has to do with sort of not necessarily putting aside ambition, but sort of just waiting, playing a waiting game, and sort of making sure that all your stuff is prepared as you go down this new track that you have chosen. But it's going to be slow, and it's going to be something that's not going to be exciting for you at first. It's going to be what you make out of it, and I think it's part of its purpose is to get you more excited about what you want to do, and to not forget that that's important to you. Um, I yeah. Hmm. That's about all I can say. Uh, I hope that was right. I hope it was very helpful for you. I don't usually do opening of the key stuff for other people, so this was sort of a practice moment for me, and a learning experience for me, and I hope one for you as well. Um, okay, if you have any questions, please let me know. Shoot me an email or something like that. And I hope you enjoyed it. All right. Thank you very much. Bye.